With the holidays rapidly approaching, we know cocktail parties are a part of the plan. And today I'm with Laura Russell, the author of the Gluten Free Asian Kitchen. And she's going to share some recipes for your friends that may have some food allergies, just to help make things a little bit more simple.
I am. Whenever I go to a cocktail party around the holidays, well, I usually eat before I go. It's quite a minefield if you're gluten-free. A lot of times at cocktail parties, you have a lot of bread, crostini, bruschetta, things wrapped in puff pastry. And I just want to go over a couple of easy gluten-free appetizers to serve at a cocktail party.
Sounds great.
All right, and we're going to start with a roasted pork meatball. If you want to go ahead and chop some scallions, we're going to use, we'll eventually use about 8 minced scallions.
Okay.
So I have a pound and a half of ground pork in the bowl. I'm going to add about a tablespoon and a half of sugar, a little bit of salt, some Asian fish sauce, and you want to look at the label to make sure this is gluten-free, but it should be.
Okay, and you're not using anything like breadcrumbs or anything to bind these?
I'm not. A lot of times, well, always, if you're eating an Italian-style meatball or a Swedish meatball, they use bread or breadcrumbs as a binder, but we use a little bit of cornstarch later on in the recipe to keep the texture pretty light. I'm adding 7 cloves of garlic here, minced, so you know you're going to get a lot of flavor in here.
Okay.
I have 3 tablespoons of chopped cilantro. And then the last ingredient I'm going to add is lemongrass. For anybody who doesn't know, if you're in an Asian market, lemongrass will look like this. Okay. It looks kind of big and scary. In the end, you're really only using probably this.
Okay.
You cut it down to the very end and peel off the outer layers. And you're just going to chop up this tender part. Otherwise, it would be really woody, and you'd never be able to chew it.
Okay, you like these in there?
Those are perfect. I'd love the scallions in here and the lemongrass. And we're just going to mix everything together. So once this is mixed together, as you can tell, there's some super flavorful ingredients in here.
Yeah, definitely.
So these, there's not going to be any lack of flavor here. And you want to refrigerate this so the flavors can marinate, I would say for at least 3 or 4 hours. Okay. But if you want to make this the day ahead, that's great. You can leave it in the fridge for...
So they can sit for 24 hours.
Exactly. Yeah. You can easily...
Anything around the holidays that you can do ahead of time is great.
That's right. These I have a couple make-ahead tips for these. So you want to marinate these, like I said, at least 3 or 4 hours. And then I have some here. What you do is just get out a baking sheet and either lightly oil it, or I put a piece of parchment paper here, and you just want to form the ingredients into about 1.5-inch meatballs. Okay. So same thing, you can do this ahead of time. This could sit in your refrigerator like this, and you can pop them in the oven right before your party. You could even put them on a sheet like this and freeze them.
I like that.
You can freeze them, and then once they're frozen, just pop them in a plastic bag. You don't want to put them all together to freeze them, or you'd have one giant meatball. Okay. So you can also freeze them, pop them on a baking sheet when you're ready to cook. Okay. And so that's another do-ahead tip. We're going to pop these in the oven now and get them cooking.
All right, great.
All right.
Laura, this is quite the spread. First question, though, how long did we cook the meatballs for?
We cooked the meatballs, these were in the oven for about 12 minutes at 425.
Oh, really quick.
Really quick. You could make them even smaller and then serve them sort of, maybe 2 little mini ones to a skewer.
Skewered, that's nice.
And then if you did that, they would be super fast, probably 8 minutes maybe for those.
And you've paired it with?
Here, this is just a gluten-free hoisin sauce that I purchased. You could also serve these, in the book we have a spicy mango sauce and also a fish sauce, lime juice sauce called nuoc cham.
Those are both good. I've had both of those, they're wonderful.
Excellent, so those are great with the meatballs.
So tell us about the other 2 dishes we have.
Here, this is a sweet potato and shrimp tempura pancake. Okay. Normally, if you see the word tempura, you know you've got a wheat flour batter, deep fried item. The batter here was made with rice flour and cornstarch, more like a pancake batter, and it's just much easier to cook them in a pan like this rather than having to deep fry. This is a little gluten-free tamari mixed with mirin as a dipping sauce.
And definitely check the label, because
Check the
tamari
label.
can have
It could,
gluten in it.
you're right.
Okay. And those look really good at the end.
You can actually make these ahead too, by the way.
Okay.
You can reheat them in the oven. On the end, we have a minced Thai chicken salad. And they're just served in lettuce cups. That's more of a naturally gluten-free recipe, also based on Asian fish sauce.
Okay.
And you can just serve them in the lettuce leaves. You could even sprinkle a little cucumber on top if you wanted.
Great, great. So Laura, what's the best way to let your guests know that these are gluten-free appetizers?
I think it's a great idea. I always like to write a little label no matter what, just telling the guests what I'm serving.
Right.
But in this case, when I'm serving something gluten-free, I just write a little GF. So my guests can take a look and say, oh, this is safe for me to eat.
Yeah.
I can snack away.
That's actually a great idea. So they're gluten-free, but they're definitely full flavor. And we're going to have the recipe for the pork meatballs on fusionnw.com. And if you'd like more recipes, we'll also have a link to Laura's website, or just pick up her cookbook. It is really great. I've taken a look at it, I've cooked out of it, and I think you'll enjoy it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.